There ain't no way I'm giving up the fight again. Not this time. I got the radical persistence, born to go the distance. I got the wings of a phoenix fly, set me on fire. I be doing laps around your orbit, better not ignore this nigga this time. I'm taking back my life. I got the radical persistence, born to go.
Hey everyone, welcome to the newest episode of On That Note with Parker Whirling. Today's guest joins me from New York City. He's an incredibly talented singer-songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, and producer who worked with a previous On That Note guest, Rubber Band Gun, on his last album, You Really Blew My Mind. He's got a new song out right now you need to check out called Radical Persistence. Before we start the episode, please make sure to like and subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. And on that note, please welcome Alec Gaston. Alec Gaston, welcome to an episode of On That Note with Parker Whirling. I'm excited to have you on. I heard about you through Kevin Basko from Rubber Band Gun, who I recently interviewed, and I checked out your stuff. It's awesome. Your new single, Radical Persistence, came out a couple weeks ago. I've been jamming to it. It's got great, groovy, psychedelic soul vibes, which is really cool because after listening to that and then going back to your previous album, You Really Blew My Mind, which was produced by Kevin Basko from Rubber Band Gun, it's really cool to see you inhabiting these two totally different musical worlds. You know what I mean? Like that last album seems to be a little more Beatles-esque, old school, whereas this new one is more of a, like I said, psychedelic soul, R&B vibes. How does it feel to be, dipping your toes in completely different worlds of production and sound quality?
Great question. First off, thanks for having me. Happy to be here. And also shout out Kevin, for putting you on to me. And he's an amazing friend and incredible musician. I'm very grateful to have him in my life, both creatively and outside of that. He's, just one of my go-to people for everything. Yeah, man, they are two totally different worlds, and that's definitely intentional. I'm kind of trying to bridge the gap. When I first started out recording, I started making records when I was like 15, and so this is going back to high school, and I didn't know anything about production at the time. I was still, very much like learning a few instruments, piano, like very rudimentary guitar, bass, that kind of thing. And one of the first shows that I ever played, this is kind of going back, but was at this small bar in Toledo, Ohio, where I grew up, and this guy named Steve Sabansky was there, who turned out to be my first engineer, producer, and I was, again, like 15 at the time. He was, or maybe even younger. I think I might have been like 14, and he was like 18 and finishing up high school, and he was getting really into production, and he was just like, have you ever recorded your songs before? And I was like, no. And he was like, let's make a record, and that started this whole relationship throughout high school. I worked with Steve on all my early recordings, and that was, the way that we were doing things was kind of in the box, outside the box. We weren't recording to tape, but we were doing multi-track recording and doing so in a more traditional way. Like here's a bass, here's a guitar, here's the keys, layering background vocals, that kind of stuff. So that was just my first introduction into things, which was the old school way of recording, if you will. And then I went to Berklee College of Music, same as Kevin, and everything there was all live recording. So it was like, get with the band, get in the studio, get in there. So still at that point, I was screwing around on GarageBand and demoing and stuff like that, but I still was not really into production at all at that point, outside of arranging. And everything at Berklee was all, studio, engineers, that whole thing. So it was kind of, I would say, a couple years after getting out of school is when I started to really experiment with producing on my own and realizing that, okay, if you start a song, from scratch without the instrument that you're used to playing, so say I'm in a band and I'm normally just playing guitar and singing, it's like, that's kind of limiting in a way, on what sounds you can use and how you can kind of build a song around it. And that's when I really developed that interest, but it took, I would say, the last like 6-7 years to get to a point where I could express creatively what I wanted to from a production standpoint as well as songwriting. And I think that's allowed me the option now to kind of really dabble in those worlds and do it full stop, to dive into like a psychedelic soul hip hop thing and like really do that, or to go to Basko's basement and make like a Beatles sounding record all live to tape. It's like those are, I would just say like the two sides of my coin. You know what I mean? I have a great respect for both ways of approaching production. You know, from doing it completely live to tape and analog, and I also have a deep respect and appreciation for music that's made in the box. And so I guess I'm striving to use what I have, you know, to bring those two worlds together, and the circumstances and the people that I have the opportunity to work with, you know.
Since you were
long-winded answer, but yeah.
No. We love long-winded answers here. Yeah. So since you were a kid in high school starting all of this, did you have a vision of the kind of artist you wanted to be, or was it a lot of kind of stumbling here and there, figuring out, oh, I do like this, I'm not really into that, let's not try that again, over the course of however many years it's been since then?
Certainly. I would say all of the above. I would say when I was younger, I think I had a more idealized vision of what my artistry or career would look like. And as I've gotten older, that's changed a lot, really, just that, you know, as your goals and ideas of success change, you know, what you're striving for also changes. And I think like for me at the end of the day, I have a deep passion for music and making music and like the actual process of making music. And I know that that's like 50-50 for musicians out there of, you know, like I really just love to play my instrument, or I really just love to play songs and write songs. But it's just like, I just love the whole process, man, of like start to finish. Like, here's an idea that existed in your head, and now all these sounds and textures and the story that ultimately you're trying to tell have all turned into this thing. And that's really what drives me, motivates like the direction of my artistry nowadays, is really A, trying to be better than I was yesterday, and B, just attaining a quicker kind of like, I guess, a spawn of reactions, like a chemical reaction, you know what I mean, when you have an idea and then it becomes a song. And I study the process, you know what I mean, so I'm just trying to get that quicker, you know what I mean, from an idea to just a full-fledged thing. That's what's driving me. Whereas I think when I was younger, it was definitely much, you know, the ideations that I had of type of artistry was like, I'm gonna dye my hair this color, and this is what the album cover is gonna look like, and we're all gonna pose like this for the picture, and I still care deeply about you know, those things, but just not as much as I used to.
Yeah, you definitely learn the priorities of what needs to be done correctly and what can be kind of winged a little bit. Like I feel like, I'm sure working with Kevin Basko from Rubber Band Gun has, you know, only enriched your love for the process of creating music even more. Because just talking to that guy, I was like, this dude loves to record music. Like, he loves everything about it, but just the way he would just dive into like the art of it. And I mean, sorry, yeah, you go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just piggybacking off what you're saying. Is like, he's so unbelievably knowledgeable in a way that I admittedly am not, about just the history of recording. And he really has his process down. That, again, as he said in his interview with you, he's been using a lot of the same gear for the better part of a decade, you know, and I think that's a big part of his you know, workflow, is that he knows his gear so well, knows how to make the sounds that he wants in that environment. It is so honest and pure and real to him and his artistry, and I think like the people that he studies a lot, and maybe that's where there's a bit of a derivation between he and I. Is like, I would say it is, again, split pretty 50-50 between that and more modern producers for me that turn my lights on, in terms of, you know, like, holy shit, like James Blake, you know, I get a hard on for him as much as Paul Simon, you know what I mean? So and a lot of that is still, you know, the simple, you know, he could play any one of those songs on the piano, and the poetry is there, and the melody is there, and the chords are there. And, you know, Kevin talks about that. It's like, I've kind of the same qualifications, I guess you would say, for songwriting, but I'm absolutely amazed at the you know, blending of genres and the appreciation for sound and sound design, and how you can arrive there. And that's just, you know, so much of what I'm still learning, and what I have learned from a lot of very talented people up until this point, you know. So one of which being Kevin, but there's a long list, you know what I mean?
Of course, yeah. let's talk a little bit about your new EP, which is coming up. Radical Persistence is the first single off of it, and I got a little sneak peek of the EP thanks to you, which is awesome. I feel really special, and that Radical Persistence single seems to be a pretty great transition track from your previous album into this new music, because while it is different in genre, I feel like with the psychedelic soul vibe, and the production is a little more like crisp and clean compared to like the roughness of your previous album, you do keep the same energy of the previous album as the EP seems to go on with some Beatles type of songwriting. For you, what is different about this EP? What's something you've learned about this EP that has taught you something about yourself? What in general was the writing and recording process?
Yeah, for sure, man. This was a pretty different endeavor for me, because this was the first project that I, from the with the exception of mastering, which Kevin did on this project as well. I did everything myself from the ground up, and all in my bedroom that you're looking at right now. So it was like holding a microscope up to myself, you know what I mean? So I learned a lot, because when you're doing it all yourself, there's no man, this guy recorded the drums like shit, it's like, no, your drums sound like shit, bro. It was a microscope or magnifying glass on every part of the process that I was doing, and how it kind of started about. I was at the beginning of COVID, the beginning of last year. I, had been working in a restaurant part-time before COVID. That ended, and that was literally like a, help pay the rent while I'm making records kind of situation for a minute while I was in between some things. And
so since that was Waiting
Tables is about, yeah, exactly. Was being in Midtown, I'm like, man, I'm serving you food, and I want to be like home writing the music that you guys are talking about around this table, buying drinks all night. Little to but yeah, so all of a sudden I had the time that I had wanted to really focus on developing the next chapter of music, and there's obviously a lot of shit going on in terms of racial inequality in the country, to put it lightly. I'm not gonna try to get too political here, although I think the personal is political and the political is personal, so it's kind of important and invariable to talk about. But I've been writing about politics and specifically about social change through collective consciousness, and just being more conscious as an individual. I've been writing about this for years, but it felt even more paramount to make that a central message now, in light of everything going on. So there was kind of like a new, I guess you would say, pair of blinders in terms of like what I wanted to write about. And then I just started demoing, and I wrote and produced probably 50 songs, in just between like April and June or July last year, and was going through all those, and just realized that with the album that I'd released last year, and I'd released a double album in 2018 as well, that I think were largely overlooked just because of the mountain of material that it was in and of itself. I didn't release this. I don't think I released a single on the double album. That was 17 tracks, like an hour and a half of music. I was touring with other bands at the time, and so I didn't have an opportunity to really play or promote that record in that fashion. And so I just had an overall feeling of, with this next batch of music, I want to pack more of a punch into less music, and kind of introduce myself to people that haven't heard my music yet, and also bridge the gap, kind of, as you were saying, between previous work and where I'm going, which I think is only going to become more experimental, more psychedelic, and more soul R&B. Is definitely, while still definitely having a deep passion for psychedelic rock and folk is always going to be there. But I think it's, I knew that I was heading into bridging a gap. So out of those 50 songs, I kind of just took the best 5 that I felt A, reflected the message that I was trying to get across, and B, that I felt like were as sonically disparate as possible. A little teaser, if anyone listens, for the last song, the EP is completely acoustic, like recorded in a bathroom, just me and the guitar. And I felt like that was important as well, having some songs that were so heavily produced and so many elements going on. I wanted to kind of remove the veil, you know, for the end of it and be like, hey, you know, at the end of the day, it's just me sitting behind an instrument, singing songs, you know what I mean? And that's still it at the end of the day, beneath all of it. So I think that, you know, that's what I was going for. But in terms of what I learned, man, just like the recording process was, you know, I demo a song, maybe spend 2-3 days like recording all the parts to it, sit on it for a couple weeks, come back to it and be like, all right, this is really cool, but I want to redo all these guitars. And then, you know, I'm working on the bridge of a tune. I'm like, something needs to happen here. And specifically in the sense of radical persistence, I actually learned how to play clarinet over the summer.
Wow.
Most of the only thing going on in the chorus other than bass and a little bit of twinkly piano is actually like 4-part clarinet harmony that sounds like a synth pad. And I had, you know, just gotten, I don't know, I guess turned on to the clarinet, Andy Schaaf. I'm really into his stuff, and I love how
Andy
he uses
Schaaf.
it, A, as a melodic instrument, but B, as like a textural thing. And my girlfriend had one from high school just like laying around that she wasn't playing, and so I borrowed it and like learned it, very like rudimentary. But anyway, that's a texture that I use throughout the whole EP. So also I was recording, I was like learning a new instrument and just trying to practice for like 2 hours a day so that I could, because I'd never played a woodwind or brass instrument in my life before. And again, have been playing music for a while and I have a good understanding of how to approach learning something. But so that was kind of a thing, is, you know, I'm like learning a new instrument, I'm like recording a little bit, doing stuff. And I was just learning a lot about production while I was doing throughout the whole process. So there was just a lot of constant facelifting going on. But that is also the nice thing about it, I think, when you're working on something start to finish yourself, is like you're kind of writing, kind of mixing, kind of producing all at the same time, and it's not just a straight shot. Whereas I think in the past, like when I have gone into the studio with a song and it's like, we're going to play it this way, and you record it, and then, you know, there is something magical about it, just capturing that moment in time and just being that. But it is a lot harder to develop something when it's been like laid down. You're like, yep, those are the drums, and this is like exactly how long the song is. I love having the freedom and flexibility to, kind of as we were saying at the beginning of the conversation, just be like, you know, I don't know about this. I'm going to try going over here, you know, and what that feels like. Or maybe this is just like too many ideas. I want to simplify this. It's a lot easier to do when it's all right in front of you. And you can just make executive decisions. I'm not like, you know, asking the bass player like, hey, is it cool if I change the bass line in the chorus? It's just like, you can just make those decisions to support the song, which is while I love working with other people, that's something that I love the most about working independently or on my own. It's just being able to make quick decisions and not have to ask anyone.
Yeah, not have to run it by anybody.
Yeah.
That's definitely a key thing that I enjoy, because I do a similar thing where I write and record and produce all the music in my bedroom. And then I'll take it to other people to get kind of doctored up a little bit. But that ability...
So, you know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That ability to make calls on the fly, like, you know what? I don't like that bass line. Let's switch it up. Or let's not even go to that section. Let's move this entire section. Like, you don't have to worry about what someone else is going to feel about it, because it's entirely your creation. But on the other end of that spectrum, there's a lot more pressure. Obviously, everything's on you. You have to decide, like, where is this going to go? And to me, what you said earlier, it's such a constant battle for me to be able to decide, like, what's the better way to record? Having the song already ready to go and then recording it and then building on top of it, or recording as you write the song. Because sometimes, you know, I feel like in my heart it's easier to record a song that you've already written, because it's just there, whereas recording it as you write it is risky. But that's just the way I always end up moving towards, because like I want to get it down, you know what I mean? I want to be able to listen to it, even if it's not 100% quality. I just want to hear where it is and then imagine where it's supposed to go.
I mean, I appreciate that. And there's, in terms of my perspective on that, it's I think there's something to be said about having a finished song and starting from there and seeing where it can go and not recording right away. Because I've run into a rabbit hole that way a few times, because it's like pretty much the first iteration of the song you record, whether or not you're conscious of it, you're going to be like married to that version, right? And so you might have this like beautiful song, but you fuck it up with this like 80s, you know, synths and like dance drums and stuff like that, when it could be, you know, a 90s grunge tune like My Bloody Valentine, or it could even be like Tyler the Creator, like Jungle Beat, you know, but it's like the first thing you did, put it in that direction. So now when you think of that song, it's going to be there. So in one respect, I like having a song finished before making decisions. But on the other side, and for example, that whole album that I did with Basko, You Really Blew My Mind, I would say 2 of those songs were fully written, lyrics and everything, before we started recording. The rest of those songs, I wrote the lyrics after we had recorded the music, like in the studio. And sometimes that happens, like I'll have a really strong conviction about a musical idea and know, start to finish, this is all the parts, these arrangements. So I'm kind of, I guess I'm contradicting myself a little bit in the respect that, you know, for those, it was like we recorded all the music and I was like, I know what it's about. I'll just, you know, I'll get the lyrics down, you know. And I also kind of like the pressure of that, of like, we're recording this like right now and it's like to tape. So you got to finish it like right now. Whereas like if I have 3 weeks to finish the lyrics, I'm working on other projects and stuff like that, it's easy to let it slip away from you, or, you know, procrastinate, deprioritize, whatever. But I just think it depends on that. And in that regard, everything was in the same sonic vein because we were recording in the same space. So it was like, that was the continuity. And so it felt like there was freedom to like write stories over a palette that had already been made. And I'm sure, you know, people that do top line writing, it's like, that's the, you know, the payoff in that.
Right. So I do have to ask you, I was reading about your debut album, which you said is a double album, and it is long. There's like 4 tracks that have like 8 minutes. It's like 8 minutes long, which is pretty crazy. But then I read you recorded all this in 72 hours.
This is correct. Yep.
What was that
so
like?
It was absolutely freaking crazy. So basically my good friend, Brian DeMaio, who's an incredible engineer, producer, songwriter, who I've also been working with for the last 10 years. We met literally when I was 18, like freshman year, Berkeley. We were like on the same floor in the dorm, and we just became fast friends. And honestly, he recorded pretty much every single thing I recorded from freshman year up until that album. And he and I have been working on a couple tracks that hopefully will be coming out this year, Brian. And Brian is also part of another band that I have that we definitely should talk about, called Blitzpop, which is a international psychedelic rock band, and Brian is a third part member of that band as well. So been working with him for a long time. He is engineered for everybody from Paul McCartney to Incubus, Mastodon, like Kamasi Washington, Snoop Dogg, Herbie Hancock. This dude is a laundry list of star-studded names. And just one of my best friends, a person I feel very, very comfortable with, just naked with my music. So at the time, he was living in LA. I told him about this project. I'd had another band that was kind of on its way out. And I'd been starting to play with new musicians. Was playing with a couple of bass players, Matt Schumacher and Ben Tiberio, and this drummer, Nathan Elman Bell. Amazing people, incredibly talented musicians. And basically, it was all pretty rushed together. I had demoed out the whole record, like all 17 songs, played all the instruments, but knew the music was like beyond my ability to perform on all those instruments for what I was going for. It was a very ambitious project in general. Crazy thing about it was, so I fly Brian out from LA, and we had the studio book, Brewery Studio. It's in Brooklyn, really small studio. We had a book for 3 days, and I had 2 different bass players on the album, the same drummer, none of which had played together before we were in the studio. So they're like playing and that was kind of partially because it was rushed, and also partially the energy that I wanted behind it. But you know, so everybody had listened to my demos, but like when we were in the studio, that was the first time we were all playing these songs together. So it was kind of like, rehearse a song once, do a take. If that's not the take, do another one. We did no more than 3 takes for any of the songs on that record, and we did them all live. And then so we would do like a 12-hour day in the studio, come back to my apartment, Brian would come back here, we'd record overdubs on what we recorded that day. So we did all those songs in the studio that day, kept I was playing guitar and singing live, so all that was kept. And then it was like, if I'm gonna overdub vocals or keyboards, I did that at my house, and then we'd go back to the studio the next day. Maybe like as they were unpacking in the morning, I would overdub guitars on like 2 or 3 songs, and then it's like boom, then we would track like 8 tracks like that day, just live, bam, 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 and it was absolutely nuts, like totally bananas, but it was also incredible. And I feel like just to this day is a record I'm really proud of, conceptually, and just the performance on there and everything by everyone involved is just really great. I think it's something everybody should listen to if they like my music.
That's so wild. What a feat, to accomplish, to write or to record an hour and a half long album literally in 3 days.
It's very complicated music, I'm not gonna lie. It's like it was ambitious, but
it's not very simple, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot going on.
Yeah. But
what did that teach you about the recording process in general?
Taught me that if you have world-class musicians and a world-class engineer, anything is possible. Truly, like if you write great music and you have good people with good energy in a room that want to bring it to life, like anything can happen. And again, that's kind of adverse. I wish I had the money and the resources to keep going into the studio and recording like that. But as an unsigned artist in this day and age, it's like it's not the situation. So I've been trying to use this as an opportunity to learn as much as I can about recording on my own, and I've learned so much about engineering literally by trial by error and recording all my own stuff. So now I feel like the next time I'm in a situation where I'm recording live with musicians again, which is invariable, I hope it will happen later this year, is that I'll be able to marry these worlds that I've been learning in, like blend the world of going ham on Ableton production and live performance, and really marry those two into a hybrid of my own sound, but also just merge those worlds together. I think we'll create something really, really cool, and something maybe not totally touched on yet.
Well, I'm excited and looking forward to hearing that sound. I mean, you can already hear such an evolution in sound on your new EP, which will be released a little bit later this year. But I'm just excited to see the trajectory you go on, because everything you've put out so far has just been bangers, and it's exciting to see.
I appreciate that, brother, man. Having fun with it one day at a time, you know what I mean?
Of course, that's the whole point of it. And
absolutely.
That's going to take us over to the last 5 here. I'm just going to ask you 5 quick questions and we'll be done.
Too soon.
I know. I like to try to keep these within like 45 minutes. Kevin, we went real long, and
he's got a lot of great stuff to talk about.
I know. I didn't want to stop him. I'm like, look, I'm just going to let him go, do his thing.
Yeah, you got to let him go.
But oh fuck. I always
Now I feel a little better, because that happened to me twice and it hadn't happened to you yet. So
yeah, the difference for
felt
you,
a little slighted.
It's just the pop It's just the pop filter as opposed to the actual microphone. Now this thing is so fidgety, like it's not gonna stay up here, but I will hold it. I'll just hold it for the next 5-10 minutes. But anyway, question number 1 is in the studio or playing live?
In the studio rat. I love performing live. And I think a lot of people that have seen me perform live would probably be like, what? But yeah, I love to be in the studio all day.
I agree. What gives you that feeling about the studio than compared to live?
I remember Basko answering this question, and I kind of have to agree. It's like, having experience like being on tour and stuff like that. It's like you're traveling for weeks and maybe a month at a time, or longer. And it's like the whole day is like leading up to this like one like hour and a half, thing. And it's like such a rush like for that, but it's just boom. And then it's like 45 minutes after the show, it's like, it's gone, and then you're just waiting to do it again. And I feel like in the studio, it's kind of like that same magic that exists, in those moments live. It's like you can create and sustain that magical energy, you know what I mean, by just like continuing to like push through it. And it's like you get to where you get to, you hit a wall, you pick it up, you just keep going the next day. It's like you don't have to wait for your turn on stage. It's like you can turn the lights on like when you wake up in the morning, you know what I mean? That's pretty sick.
Totally agree. There's something about being able to create something out of thin air that just feels like magic.
Absolutely.
Question number 2 is, what do you think is a perfect album front to back?
Jeez. There's quite a few. Grace by Jeff Buckley is definitely my number one, probably
Good.
all time.
Great answer.
Up there, like Figure Eight by Elliott Smith, also. Big one, start to back. Damn by Kendrick,
Oh, okay.
start to finish.
Do you
Malibu.
do you like it
Malibu.
more than To Pimp a Butterfly?
I do, personally.
Wow.
I mean, I think To Pimp a Butterfly is like a 21st century essay on humanity. To be honest, like it's incredible, but
Right.
As an album, on a desert island, I would take Damn first, and then there's got House is the Holy by Led Zeppelin,
Oh, cool. You're all over the place. I like it.
and Malibu, or I said that already. Sorry.
Who's Malibu by?
Anderson .Paak.
Oh,
Malibu.
Yeah.
Life-changing record. I've got the poster in my living room. And oh yeah, Mac Miller. What am I thinking? Swimming. Start to back. Wrecks me every time. And sorry. I know there's like a few, but it's like any one of those could, like on any given day, would take the cake for me, and that's kind of how I am. It's like if it's like a rainy Tuesday, it's like Figure Eight, you know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
If it's like summertime and I'm feeling awesome, it's Malibu, you know what I mean? That like, so anyway, I feel like all of those answers are accurate depending on my personality on the day.
Yeah, it's hard to just pick one album you think is perfect front to back, because it really like depends on the mood, because sometimes you don't want to listen to
But like perfect front to back, Grace by Jeff Buckley. Literally perfect front to back.
That is a perfect album. I didn't listen to the whole thing ever until last year. I was like on the plane. I downloaded it so I could not have to like go on the internet on the plane. I was just like sitting there like almost crying, like with people next to me, like, what the fuck is this? How does this guy's voice this good, and his songwriting? And it's like, I guess I expected every song to be like Hallelujah, but it's not. They're all some like crazy rock songs. It's insane.
Yeah, man. So Real is a gut buster, dude. I mean, like that shit. The thing that's crazy is like you got to think he was contemporaries with like Radiohead in the early '90s, and like there's a great Tom York interview. Like he talks about seeing Jeff Buckley at a festival in 1996, and he's like, it changed my life. Like I was totally blown away. It's like those dudes were in the same camp. He was thrashing, man, and he played in a lot of punk bands. He played with Bad Brains before.
I didn't know that. Well,
yeah, dude. Yeah, look.
I need to do more research.
Check him out, dude. Do some
Buckley.
JB research. He's seriously the man.
I remember reading that Tom York said that about Jeff Buckley. Radiohead's like my favorite band ever. And I was like, damn.
Up there for me too as well.
Yeah.
I guess I'll put In Rainbows in there as well. I actually was just showing a friend live from the basement the other day. Yeah, that album has had a huge impact on me, and I also think they have a couple of records that are perfect straight to back, I would say.
I agree. I actually did a podcast with my friend who I interviewed on this show called Bands, Beers, and Buzzwords, where the whole point of the show is you pick an album that's like your favorite album of all time. And then he kind of like, you just talk about it for an hour, and it's like a drinking game, kind of becomes a quiz.
I love that.
Yeah. And I picked In Rainbows, because that literally
perfect.
is my favorite
What's your favorite song?
Oh God, that is so hard.
I know.
It's always changed over the years, but right now, if I had to pick one, it might be either All I Need, or I love is it House of Cards? I love House of Cards. That one really grew on me. What about you?
I would say All I Need has been that's like gun to my head. That's definitely the first choice. I've also always been a really big fan of Nude. I love that song. I think it's so understated, like magnificently understated, and Yeah, it's definitely kind of in that same way. Like as I've gotten older, it's just kind of hit me in different ways. Like I used to kind of always just be like, oh, that's a cool bass line. I like how like, drifts off with the vocals, kind of like in Paranoid, second half of Paranoid Android, and like I was into the vibe of it. But when I started like really like listening to the lyrics and like Hit You, you're just like, oh my god, like that one's it cuts deep. But yeah, I love that whole record, dude. It's so good.
Their music has so many layers. You can always come back to it and get something completely new out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we could literally talk about Radiohead all day, but I have to move on because I'll just be sitting here asking you Radiohead questions.
I'm not mad about it.
Yeah. But number 3, who's your dream artist or producer to work with?
Also, another really, really tough one. As far as a producer, I would this is like kind of I don't know, I feel like an obvious answer, but it would be for a lot of people, but Rick Rubin.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's just had such a massive influence on pretty much every artist that I admire, or a lot of them. And I just love his whole mentality and philosophy. And I think for someone like me that's very high energy and that can like just go, someone like that would like push me to another level. You know what I mean? I feel like he'd be like, all right, dude, you're gonna get up and run a marathon, then you're gonna take an ice bath, and then we're gonna hike up this mountain and do vocals for tracks 1 through 3. Ready? You know what I mean? I'd be like, fuck, man, I hate you, but like, sick, let's do it. So I don't know. I think that would be my choice as far as a producer. But as far as somebody that I'd like to collaborate with, it's a long list. Probably King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard would be like number 1 for me. They're like probably my favorite band like that's around right now. And I think the album that they did with Mild High Club, Sketches of Brunswick East, was like super inspiring. And I don't know, I could see doing something like that with them. That would be my first choice, definitely. After that, I would say maybe either James Blake, Unknown Motor Orchestra, Chance the Rapper.
All great answers.
Fucking Donald Glover, Childish Gambino. I mean, I would just love to create with him. Like, I'm also an actor and director and work in a lot of different mediums, and he's just been a huge inspiration to me in general. I think it'd be sick to make music with him.
Have you seen Atlanta?
Oh, of course. Yeah, I actually have a good
show.
friend, Aubin Wise. She was in that show.
Cool.
But yeah, I absolutely love that show. So good.
Yeah, that's where
I'm ready.
from.
I'm ready for Paperboy's next album.
Yeah, we need another Paperboy release.
Yeah,
I'll get him on the show. How's that?
Dude, that would be freaking awesome. You should.
That would be really funny.
Get him and like Keith Stanfield on here.
Yes, that would be sick. And being from Atlanta, that show is just like another layer of great because there's so many little like Atlanta jokes that they'll throw in there that otherwise you might not even know.
Are you from like downtown Atlanta or like?
I'm from Smyrna, so it's like 15 minutes outside of Atlanta. But
okay, awesome. I've only been a couple times, but
it's a great place. Yeah, definitely
Absolutely.
recommend spending some time there.
So sorry, briefly, how did you when did you make the transition out to LA, or like / how long have you been there?
Right after high school, I had moved out here. I'm actually an actor as well, and that's why I moved out here. So cheers to that. But yeah,
You a SAG, bro? You a SAG?
I am. I'm in the union.
Oh, he's SAG.
Unionized.
I'm SAG eligible, but I'm holding out.
Do that. Withhold. You don't need to be in it. Like, sorry, SAG, but you don't need to be in it until you have to. So anytime anyone asks me, they're like, "Oh, you're in SAG. Like, should I join?" I'm like, only if you literally have to, because otherwise
they're gonna take half my money anyway.
Yeah, they're just gonna pay your dues. Yeah, they're gonna take half your money even if you're not in the union. So just don't worry about it until you literally have to. But that's cool. I didn't know that you were an actor as well.
That's what's up, man.
Do you feel like you have the same energy and the same passion for film and TV as you do with music, or is it kind of a separate thing for you?
No, it's all together. I actually I studied film scoring in college.
Oh wow.
And so it was always marrying the two. And growing up, I was much more involved in acting and theater than I was in music, and that's kind of what led me to go to music school. Was that I felt like I had more to learn in that area at the time, you know. being that I think they're both lifelong pursuits, acting and music respectively. I don't think it's anything you ever like are like, yeah, I'm good now. Like, no,
Right.
it's like, it's a lifelong thing. But I would definitely say the passion is equal. I spend, pretty right down the middle, 50% of my time working on TV, film opportunities as I do on music, and deep passion for both.
So cool. Yeah, they are beautiful things, and I like that we can enjoy them separately as well, but you can also bring them together in the form of music videos and things like that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. Question number 4 is, what's on your musical rotation right now?
Musical rotation right now, I can pull it up and tell you.
Let's do it.
Lately I have been on a huge Reggie Snow kick. Do you know about Reggie Snow?
No, I don't.
It's an amazing rapper. He's actually from Ireland, and fun fact, I'm pretty much half Irish. My mom's mainly Irish, and you don't get a whole lot of black Irishmen, but he's really freaking awesome, man. There was this song that came out last year. It was either end of last year or early this year with MF Doom. It's called Cookie Chips, and so it was like one of MF Doom's like last recordings.
Whoa.
That's just been a serious feel-good song. Definitely check that out, Cookie Chips. But been listening to a lot of Reggie Snow, been on a bit of a James Blake binge, been listening to a lot of like Brazilian music from the 70s. I'm just like looking through what I've actually been listening through. Was listening to a lot of Tribe this summer, Dr. Dog, Fleet Foxes. I love the Strokes' new record.
Yeah, I got it up right here.
Yep, big fan. I got really into this. Have you ever heard of this guy named Sam Prekop before?
No.
So there was this band throughout the 80s and 90s into the 2000s called The Sea and the Cake. My older brother, Sean, when we were younger, he turned me on to a lot of the music that I got into really early. So I was like, like 9 and 10, and he was showing me Interpol and like Muse and all this shit. So it was like he was curating my taste like from a very young age. And over the summer, he turned me on to Sam Prekop. He used to be a huge Sea and the Cake fan. But anyway, I got into this guy, and he's absolutely bananas, dude. He released an album in 2020. What's the name of that record? Called Comma. And it's like all analog, like Trent Reznor, Atticus Ross, like sound bath.
Whoa.
Analog synthesis. But if you listen to his self-titled album from 1999, Sam Prekop, it literally sounds like Alan Holdsworth and like Elliott Smith had a baby and like went to Africa. It's absolutely insane. But he's probably like my biggest find of the last year, I would say, in terms of like a single artist that's had a like, profound inspiration and just like my listening rotation. But I've listened to his whole discography like 10 times this year. I love that guy. So he's in rotation, heavily in rotation.
Nice. Sam Prekop. You're going to have to send me some of his stuff after this.
Basko's new album, Adventure Violence,
great.
Scary Images, heavily on rotation. Kind of all over the place. But yeah, I would say Reggie Snow has been just like a huge on repeat for me lately. I don't know. Love his lyrics, his flow, the production style. It's very like grimy and blissful.
Nice. What's this Cookie Chips? That's the song?
Cookie Chips. Check that song out. That's the one with MF Doom.
I like that name too. That's funny.
Dude, it's unbelievable. It's such a good song. You'll have it on repeat all day.
Nice. I can't wait to listen. So the last question here, I noticed the other day I put a little story on my Instagram on that note Instagram page, which everyone should go follow. And
go follow On That Note.
Yeah, and
it's C Sharp, by the way.
Steve Sharp?
No, I was just making a joke. Like the note is C Sharp.
Oh, C Sharp. I thought you said Steve Sharp. I was like, who the fuck is Steve Sharp? But anyway.
Kind of a triple entendre there was seeing and sharp. And anyway, I'm not going to unpack that. Yeah.
But the question I asked on my Instagram story was the first James Blake album his best? Because it was very recently his 10-year anniversary. Yeah. And you said no, but you did not say what his best project was. So my last question is, what do you think is James Blake's best project and why?
I think Assume Form, It's hard to say. The Color in Anything was very impactful, but the reason why I think Assume Form is his best work is because you can hear it in the writing, but also he talked about this openly. It's like he was writing from a place of being in love for the first time. Like all of his music up until that point had so much conflict, and again, like this is his commentary or also within the music, and I felt like he still had the same depth and development and range that he had in his earlier records, but it was moving towards this like contentness of like being in love, which just like had such an overall permeating feeling throughout the record. I don't know. That's just me. But also, I don't know. A Color in Anything is special. So
That's good answers. I have to
what
say,
are your thoughts? Yeah, lay it down.
well, okay. So I have to be honest. I don't even know if I listened to Assume Form from front to back, which I feel bad. Is it the one song, The Way We Flow? Can't Believe the Way We Flow. I like that one. Is that one on Assume Form?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was really into him probably somewhere between the second and third album. That's when I like found out about him. So I was just kind of like, I didn't really know how to feel about The Color in Anything when it came out, because I really liked the disjointedness, I guess, of his previous two. And he started to kind of like ring it in a little bit, make it a little more, I don't know, just not as out there and weird. But I have to say, the one project he's released that has been probably my most listened to is his
Overgrown?
most recent one. Actually.
Oh, okay.
The EP. The EP, I think, is fucking amazing. Before, each song is amazing on its own, and it's even better as like its own 4-song project. And maybe that's like not fair to say that a 4-song project I think is his best, because there's not a lot of room to, well,
I mean, hey man, it's all subjective at the end of the day. So that's how you feel. It's like, you don't have to explain yourself to me while I appreciate it, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, I think that's awesome. Like, especially with an artist that has such a dense discography, like I would be stoked if I heard a fan go like, actually, dude, your like most recent 4-song EP is like the best thing yet. It's like everybody wants to hear that.
Right.
Everyone is going to want to hear that their best work is their most recent.
Yeah.
No I feel like to some degree.
Yeah, man, your debut album from 10 years ago, that's the best shit. And you're like, so I haven't gotten any better? Like, damn.
Yeah, which also, like, I just said that about Sam Prekop 5 minutes ago. So, I don't think there's a bad thing in saying like, yo, dude, that debut slaps. But I think it is nice to see a natural progression or development from any artist as they go on. But I don't know. What I will say, me and my partner are both huge James Blake fans, but it's like when he came out of the gate, he was already at such a level. Like his debut was so powerful because it was so groundbreaking in so many ways that I know, like, one of my initial thoughts, like when I first heard him, was just like I can't wait to see what he's gonna do next. You know what I mean? Just like, man, that was exciting. Can't wait to see what he's gonna do next. And I feel like he's only like continued to develop and work upon where he started and push that further. That's just my perspective. But so mad kudos. Would love to work with that guy one day.
Yeah, someday it'll happen. He's totally prolific. I think you guys would be a great a great pair.
Maybe we'll bring Young Jeezy in and make it a trio.
Why not? that would be interesting. I'd love to hear that track. But
he said openly he wants to produce a record for Young Jeezy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I heard him say like Barter 6 was one of the best albums of the 2010s or something. I was like, I would not have guessed that James Blake would say that, but that's cool as well.
He loves minimalist trap production, bro.
Yeah. I mean, you can totally hear it. It was never something I thought of, and then he said it, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess that makes sense. Awesome. Well, Alec Gaston, thanks for coming on an episode of On That Note with Parker Whirling. That's going to wrap up our time here, but everyone needs to go check out your new song, Radical Persistence, which is out now. First single.
Got a new song.
New EP.
New song, new music video coming out the 24th of February. We're getting somewhere. Going to be really sick.
Nice.
Definitely check that out.
We're getting the announcement right here, right now.
Right here, right now. Yep, you heard it here first.
February 24th, you said?
That's correct.
Nice. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I know everybody listening is looking forward to it. And thank you again for coming on the show, man. I really appreciate you coming on and talking about your creative process.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, man. I look forward to chatting again soon. We'll have to keep the James Blake combo going.
Yes, let's keep it up. Awesome.
All right. Cheers, brother. Have an amazing day. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, man.
So tell me something more.
Thank you again for joining me for another episode of On That Note with Parker Whirling. If you haven't yet, please make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and Apple Podcasts, and you can even leave a comment down below to let me know who you're listening to. On that note, I'll see you guys next time.
You love